Hey, what's up everybody? It's Lids, and we're back for some more Gwent, and today we're playing more of the Power Shift Seasonal event, which is an alternate game mode in which at the start of the match, every card in our starting deck gets its power set to its provision cost, making several cards significantly more powerful. And today we are going to be playing a deck that is so unbelievably strong that I can't believe we haven't played it yet. So let's go take a look. So today we'll be playing a Skellige Blaze of Glory deck that focuses on playing all of our best cards in round 1, and then either pushing really hard in round 2, or at the very least, playing Lippy to flip our deck with our graveyard, so that all those strong cards that we played in round 1, we can play again in round 3, giving us a ton of additional power. So that means that in round 1, we can be really aggressive with base Geralt and Igni, and even use Geralt Quen to get those Geralts, give us even more points. We can also use Eyck for even more removal, and get a really solid point slam with the Wolf School Trio. We'll also get Roach and Knickers to raid the battlefield, and because they're way stronger than they are in Standard, that's pretty significant. And talk about cards that are stronger than usual, Madoc being a 10-point body is fantastic. Not so much because of the damage that he deals with his order ability, but just because he's potentially a source of carryover. We play a bomb, we get him onto the board, either someone from our graveyard or from our deck, and then we can do that again in round 2 or round 3 and get him from our graveyard for 10 points of carryover, which is amazing. And Red Haze is already almost an auto-include in this event, so that's a natural fit with Madoc. And then I just threw in a Samum, even though the damage is almost insignificant, it's just to have another bomb in your deck to make it a little bit easier to get Madoc back out from your graveyard. Then, somewhat similarly, we also have Crowmother, who when we play an alchemy card comes from our graveyard back onto the board. But the plan with her is a little more complicated. Because she has 10 base power in this event, we'll use our leader ability on her to give us 10 damage to remove or at least significantly damage one of our opponent's units, and then play an alchemy card and she's coming from our graveyard back onto the board, giving us 10 points of additional value. Then, like I said, we'll use Lippy, likely in round 2, to flip our graveyard with our deck, not only allowing us to replay all those big cards, but also making it so that Roach immediately gets summoned onto the board, and Knickers may very well as well, which also turns Lippy into a huge point slam, which means this deck is really good at going for 2-0 wins, because you're playing super aggressively in round 1, and then with Lippy, you can play super aggressively in round 2 and get a surprising number of points when you play Lippy. And even if you don't go for the 2-0 win, at least play Lippy in round 2 so that you draw into all of your big cards in round 3, and you can just play them directly from your hand. Just be mindful of where Crowmother is when you use this, because it can be a little hard to keep track of her, given how much she moves from your deck to your graveyard and back onto the board. And if for whatever reason you can't play Lippy in round 2, wait until the end of round 3 to use him, that way you get both Roach and Knickers as a surprise point slam. So there's a look at the deck, and like I said, it is all about playing all of our big cards numerous times and finding creative ways to either summon cards from our deck or our graveyard for a bunch of additional value. So let's go see it in action. Alright, so going up against Nilfgaard here, and they'll go first. Okay, so let's fix our hand a little bit here by getting rid of Knickers. And we definitely love to see Lippy, that is our key card. And we'd also like to have a few more of our really big cards in here so we get the chance to play them not only in round 1, but then use Lippy to play them again in round 2, or more likely round 3. So I'm thinking that probably means we're looking to dump an Iron Falcon Knife Juggler. We do like having some alchemy cards that helps us with Crowmother, whereas we don't yet have a bomb, so we don't have a good way to get Madoc out here. Do we have any of the Wolf School Trio, or is that actually our first one? It might be. Okay, they'll lead off with Warrit. Uh-oh. It's giving me mill vibes. It's giving me mill vibes. They are almost certainly about to steal Igni from us. We technically can Royal Decree into Igni. It doesn't actually have anything that it can hit here, because it won't have initiative, and that means that it would need to have 35 points in this melee row to actually remove anything, but in the name of trying to prevent them from stealing it, that might actually still be worth doing, because not only do we deny them taking it, we also still maintain the ability to play it again in round 3 with Lippy, setting that up. So you know what? Crazy as it sounds, so either Royal Decree or even Geralt Quen, might that be preferable? I'm gonna say... Actually, is it our only Witcher in our deck that we want to play right now? I think it is. So tell you what, it's actually going to be Quen into Igni, which just looks totally ridiculous. But again, because they were doing this to play Cantarella probably on their next turn and steal Igni, that was their plan. And that would have not only allowed them to play Igni, yes, it was too early for them to actually be able to make Igni work effectively, but it's crucial that we maintain Igni so that we can get it back into our deck using Lippy, and that next time, it'll actually work. Okay, they stole one of our bombs, and we did not have a bomb in our hand to begin with here, so it is potentially going to be quite difficult for us to get Madoc out here, which does kind of stink, but at least we prevented them from stealing Igni. So, I mean, they could potentially still Yenvo it, but that's a totally different thing. So, on Craite Longship is, of course, usually the best first turn play. We had to rush to get Igni out here because they were about to seal it if we didn't do that. So, probably do still go that route. Yeah, I think we probably do. And if they are mill, which they are certainly messing around quite a bit with our deck here, so I wouldn't put it past them, then they theoretically don't have many points. There's the Yenvo, as I was just saying. So yeah, alright, sure, we denied one way of them stealing Igni, but they insisted on doing so. So, I mean, it took them 2 cards to do it. They tried to set it up here, we denied them that way, and so they had to also sacrifice a Yenvo to make it happen. Does still kind of stink, but at least we didn't make it easy for them. So, now, what were we like? Royal Decree, what are we thinking is going to be the plan there? I mean, it could be Eyck. Perhaps it should be Eyck. I think it probably is. Let's do that now. Because although he does not yet have a target to remove, the threat of him removing whatever big cards they might be planning to play might be enough to dissuade them from playing them altogether. Either that, or they'll use some kind of control to mess with him. Sire, in their range row, means they, what, got Yenvo back into their deck? Right? Yeah, that's what they just did. Okay, so they might be about to try to draw a card and steal something else from our side of the board, which would probably end up being Quen, but could potentially even be Eyck. So, now at this stage, I'm thinking what we might want to do is go leader ability and use that to destroy Warrit. Mostly just for the sake of getting some value out of it, but then that means that we can use Mardroeme, and with that, because it's an alchemy card, we can get Crowmother from our graveyard back onto the board, giving us a huge point swing. So, I mean, we arguably may not need it here, but we're going to do it because we want to make sure that we do this early before they continue to mess with our strats. And because Geralt Quen had a shield, that means we didn't take the self-damage. It just turned into a pure 9-point boost. So yeah, convincing round 1 win, and we know they are about to draw into a Yenvo in round 2. So bear that in mind. We do need to be a little bit cautious with whatever we play early in the next round, because they might try to steal that as well. Oh, bad timing on Knickers, though. Would have been great. Would have been great if he waited, because we certainly didn't need him there. Then again, assuming that we are going to play Lippy, we can do our deck flip and get Knickers back into our deck and get the value out of him in round 2 or round 3. We also saw them use the Ophiri Merchant to swap one of our cards. I forget what they took from us. Oh no, it was a red Haze, wasn't it? So we still don't have any bombs in our hand. Let's get rid of you. And we definitely don't want 2 Wolf School Witchers. Okay, Samum. It's not the preferred bomb, but it is a bomb. So it is a way to get Madoc out here. That is key. So we have at least 2 throwaway cards here. And we could make that be just 1 bad card followed by Lippy to do our deck flip. However, because we have some pretty significant carryover with Lippy, I think there is something to be said for deliberately pushing a bit in round 2 here, especially because we can potentially do some stuff to get Crowmother out here again and make a Madoc appearance, which they may not be expecting. They did steal that red Haze, but then again, That is a fairly common card, even for non-Madoc decks in this event, so I don't think they'll be too suspicious of us playing Madoc here. So, I play the Longship because that is great in a long round. It does give a little bit of a sign that, yes, our intention is to go for a long round here. That is now a big Viper Witcher Alchemist, which does mean that Geralt of Rivia is an option. You might say, well, that's kind of aggressive, Lids. Why would you use it on an 11 power unit when there might be something bigger later on? Yes, there may be. However, remember, the intention here is that we're going to get these cards into... Well, actually, the cards that we play here in round 2, we're not going to get the chance to deck flip with Lippy, so... Yeah, we won't be able to play Geralt of Rivia twice, and given how they did steal our Igni... True. You know what? We may need to save Geralt of Rivia here. So, in which case, I think we take the more traditional bleed approach here and just stick to our relatively weak cards and see if we can trade one of our weak cards for one of their stronger cards and make their round 3 not as good. So, that being said, the Herbalest probably the weakest card that we had, so that's why I opted to play her. But it is enough that they certainly still need to play here. I mean, obviously, if they passed immediately, then we would just play one more card and win the match altogether. Yeah, what is the deal with all the switching around there doing well? We certainly won that trade. We certainly would prefer a Vilgefortz over another Herbalist, which, as I was just saying, is arguably our weakest card. So, yeah, that's fine by me. They did a good job of playing these in different rows, because that means now, well, no, it's not Red Haze, it's Samum that we have, so you know what, we could take out this Inferior Merchant, and in doing so, summon Madoc, which, you know, that's probably the play we're looking for here, to be honest. That's probably the play we're looking for. Because there is Madoc. We know they took a Red Haze from us, and so there's theoretically a very high probability that they're about to use it here, or they're going to steal Madoc, which also does make a lot of sense. I'm going to use their leader ability for a Geralt, which, for what it's worth, does not have a target, and because their leader ability does not give them a card from their starting deck, it does not get the increased base power. That's just a 3-power Geralt, so after the damage from the Craite Longship, congratulations, you just had a 2-point leader ability. Not exactly what they were looking for here, I don't think. So, for that reason, perhaps we continue to just play some of our weaker units here and continue to check if we can trade one of our weaker cards for one of their stronger cards, because that's certainly what just happened there. Okay, Royal Decree could be into, well, I would say Igni, because they made a point of stealing that, but my guess is that's in their hand. Yeah, that's the Igni right there. It's Mata. We'll get a Red Haze, which, I mean, would have been great if we still had Madoc, but they did, of course, steal him. I mean, Red Haze is still potentially quite powerful, even outside of Madoc, if they just have 2 big cards next to each other, which at the moment they don't. But we can potentially make this work if we are a little bit more patient with it. As for right now, though, what we might want to do is play an alchemy card of some variety, either Mardroome, probably the right move, because Dimeritium Shackles, yeah, a little bit of damage, but none of these cards have abilities that are relevant right now. So we do this, and then we get Crowmother out from our graveyard for a whole bunch of carryover. So I'm thinking we're probably going to use this on something that has armor, and probably go for the Knife Juggler. Because that way, we don't have big units right next to each other. Or rather, we don't have one really big Longship that is an obvious removal target. Because now they do have an Igni. We know they have that Igni. The card art actually looks really similar between our cards and their cards, but that is a card from our starting deck. That's our card back, so we know that's Igni. Or, I guess, theoretically, it could be Red Haze, but either way, either one could potentially get rid of one of our big cards here. They stole our leader ability, which I guess makes some sense after they completely botched theirs. But even then, I mean, what Skellige units do they still have? They stole that Igni from us. They did do some switcheroos when they gave us the Fury Merchants. Oh, I know what they have. They have an Herbalest, which is not great for that. It's 4 damage. I mean, it is something, but this is perhaps the opportunity for us to use a half-decent red Haze. So why don't we take that? There's a non-zero chance they might have played something bigger next to those other units later on, but we'll take that chance. And we should also probably go with the Wolf School Trio in the not-so-distant future. Okay, it's Stregobor. So yeah, now it's starting to look a lot more like a mill deck. These are a lot more mill-centric cards, and so they're trying to get us to draw a card there, get us to draw a card here. Yes, however, bear in mind that, I mean, we can also, we can thin out, we actually probably should thin out all of our Wolf School Witchers right now, otherwise there's a chance we end up drawing into one of them and bricking Eskel a little bit. The thing is, once we play Lippy, we are pretty much going to undo almost all of their attempts to mill us, so I'm really not concerned about that much at all. We could also, if we really want to, we could use Dimeritium Shackles to just lock Stregobor. That is an option, but I kind of like the prospect of just flipping the script on them with Lippy in more ways than one. So I think, yes, it's perhaps a little bit riskier, but let's go with Eskel here, and we'll put Wolf School Trio in this row, because in doing so, that means that if they do play that Igni, they're going to get rid of Crowmother, and Crowmother, obviously we can get her back with this Dimeritium Shackles, so it is basically a 0-point removal on Igni. It's just the 10-point body, so that's great. And at the end of their turn? Yeah, at the end of their turn, they'll get this card draw. Oh, it was Madoc that they had in their hand? Oh. I don't know about that. There's the card draw. It's Vilgefortz that we end up getting. So, I mean, yes, he's 1 power. On the other hand, his ability is strong enough that you can certainly still justify playing him here. And, it's not like we want to do a super clever mill ourselves option here. Even if we were to dump the Heymaey Herbalest, we're not going to really get anything better in return. But what we could do is probably use Vilgefortz to remove that Viper Witcher Alchemist. That was going to be our Geralt of Rivia target, but we could still go for Madoc. We know they theoretically do have... Actually, yeah, they have at least 1 bomb in their hand right now, so they will be able to get Madoc back if we do target it with Geralt, but... yeah, I guess we'll wait and see. If they play that Igni, then that becomes our Geralt target then. So yeah, let's go Vilgefortz now. And what we'll do is get rid of you. And you'll get replaced by another mill card. Now, yes, we swapped out a 9-power unit for a 6-power unit, which is not amazing, but we did kind of shut down more of their mill. So they do play Madoc there, because yes, these two, at least one of them, is a red Haze, and that's why I wanted to be mindful of where we played Vilgefortz, trying to put something next to Crowmother so she's not as capable of damaging one of our other units, although this Longship could still get rid of Lambert if they really wanted to. It's Igni. I hope they do it in this row. I mean, this is a bigger unit, so they're definitely going to do it in the range row. Oh no, that's not big enough for it. Yeah, so that's a huge mistake, because now we can just immediately get Crowmother back with Dimeritium Shackles. That is the trap that we set for them. So, I mean... we can do that now, but maybe while we still can. I mean, I don't expect for Igni to get damaged anymore, but this would be the preferred Geralt of Rivia target, unless they have something even bigger they're holding onto. Again, we know one of these is red Haze. They're going to get Madoc back with that. Once they do so, I'm not sure if they have a second bomb to get him back after that. I don't remember. So, they might. They might? Don't quote me on that. I suppose we'll go Dimeritium Shackles here. Just don't hit Geralt. Go for, really, anyone else. And get Crowmother back, because that was an alchemy card. And that is why their Igni was, pretty useless. Okay, then it's a 1-power Heymaey Herbalest, so that's what they ended up drawing into with Stregobor. And they actually boosted Stregobor, which means suddenly we have a slightly better target for Geralt of Rivia, so I suppose we might as well go after Stregobor now. So we'll play him, and then we'll finish with Lippy, which I'm pretty sure still works when we use him as our last card. I am admittedly not the most frequent of Lippy users, and that's not usually the circumstance in which I do play him, but I would like to believe that's still a possibility. It's Isbel, which is potentially another way to get us to draw some cards. Except, here's the thing. We have a huge lead right now, And, oh, also, after they drew into that Skellige card, it means their leader ability doesn't work at all, because that was the one Skellige card that they stole from us, so, yeah, that means they also botched Anna Henrietta in that way, too. So, yeah, we found seemingly every way to counter their deck. Most significantly, perhaps, though, is Lippy. Problem is, we do need to play him in the range row, and so we're going to have to put him next to one of these other big units, so they do have, this last card is definitely Red Haze, and they're going to do a whole bunch of damage to Geralt's, probably. But I think it's still worth doing, because we do the deck flip. That also gets Roach out here. And Knickers. And, well, it's going to take a whole lot for them to catch us here. Yes, they use Isbel's Order, which gives them 2 cards to work with. Gives us 1 card to work with. Since we won round 1, it's honestly not that big of a problem. I mean, Squirrel is not exactly an ideal card for us to get here, but that is the Igni that they had stolen from us. And range row Igni is actually quite strong. So, I mean, that's a start. But with 1 more card to play, I still think it's a Red Haze for 9 points. And that is not going to cut it. So that means they will forfeit. And we will take the win. Alright, so going up against Scoia'tael here. And we'll go first. Okay, so we have several cards that we definitely want to put back into our deck. Primarily Knickers, Roach, and Madoc, I think, are top among those. And we do still have the Curse Scroll Stratagem, so if we brick anything else with these mulligans, then we can fix it a little bit with that. Okay, actually, that looks quite solid. So let's start with the Craite Longship, as this, of course, is more valuable the earlier we play it. Okay, Morin to lock, I imagine, yep, that Longship right off the bat. Fortunately, we do have another one, and the luxury of us having Lippy is that we can play all of our best cards as aggressively as we'd like to, so no problem. Go in with our second Longship here. Okay, Armory. Oh. So they use on Morin, which means that's a 12 power unit, which is tempting to do something to get rid of her. We could do that with Eyck, or eventually with Igni. Not yet, because this row needs to be bigger before that becomes a possibility. But we could also use Curse Scroll here to make our starting hand even stronger still. Actually, come to think of it, do we have... Okay, we do have a bomb, so we can get Madoc out here that way. That's important. We do not currently have any alchemy cards, which means we actually can't get the Crowmother from our graveyard back into our deck at the moment. She's still in our deck, so that's not relevant right now. But the other thing that I'm thinking about is we go Curse Scroll, and we get a Geralt Quen. And then, how about we dump the Knife Juggler? We have a couple of those. And then we'll use the Herbalest, and just boost one of these guys up. I'll also get out Knickers. Okay, so they're using a leader ability charge to move the Longship out of the melee row. Understandable. Giant Slayer, who are they going for here? Oh, the Herbalest, which notably does not have higher base power than the Giant Slayer, so even if this does get destroyed, he's not going to get resilience, so that's probably a bit of a misplay there. So I don't really think we need to be all that concerned about this guy. He's basically just a 6 power unit that is, yes, going to deal 1 damage per turn, but in the grand scheme of things, that's not a huge deal. So we could get Eyck down here. I think we probably are going to do that, because that is a big unit there with Morin, and it does also get Roach out from our deck. Okay, they're going to use more leader ability charges. They're trying to get, I imagine, this Herbalist defeated as quickly as possible, but again, it's not really going to help them all that much. In fact, they were already going to get damage from the Giant Slayer, so it just feels a little bit silly. It also doesn't matter where Eyck is unless they're about to use Brayhin to destroy the rightmost unit in a row, but even then, at Adrenaline 5, which would be what they'd have on their next turn, it would need to be the 5th card in the row or more. Only at, what, Adrenaline 3 would they be able to get rid of Eyck right now? Obviously, we're about to use this. So, no, they're not about to destroy him before we get the chance to use that. Then, unfortunately, they've done a good job of splitting their units with this armory in the middle, so that means we can't get Madoc out here with Red Haze right now. But other than that, it's also not big enough for an Igni. Rather not have to play the Knife Juggler, but I think we might need to play the Knife Juggler. Because, yes, there are 2 targets out here to hit. So that is at least worth 8 points, which is not bad, but we want to make sure that we're playing all of our big cards here in round 1, because when we play Lippy, we're going to replay all those big cards in a future round. Did they once again go for a unit that is smaller than the Giant Slayer? I think they did, so once again, wait. Oh, it's only the armor that you gain if you go for a unit that is higher. Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. My mistake. I haven't used these guys yet myself. But now, for what it's worth, we could actually just destroy one or both of them. With Red Haze would be worth 6 damage. You do have that armor, which actually does make it a little trickier. We're at 16 in this row right now, so Igni does not work. We could, and probably should, go with the Witcher Trio, at least for now. And we should not play them in the melee row, because if we did, they'd be the highest units there, which means that they would be a 21-point Igni target, whereas here in the range row, Roach is protecting them. Roach would be the sacrificial horse in this case. Alright, so yes, as it turns out, we actually do want to do what we can to protect this Knife Juggler so that they do not get as many resilience units here in the melee row. However, now that they are above 20 points, we can, in fact, opt for an Igni and destroy Zoltan, which is a pretty solid target. He's their biggest resilience unit right now, so I do like that. The problem with that is that Zoltan is also a very convenient way to get a solid amount of damage from Red Haze, but tell you what, here's what I think we do. We go Igni, and obviously that row. Then we go leader ability here, and we go for a Crowmother, and use her to destroy, I mean, either Giant Slayer, really. This one, because it's probably going to get resilience soon. This one, obviously, already has resilience. And we have committed big time in round 1 to the point where they might say to themselves, well, clearly they have an advantage in round 2/3 because we played all the big stuff. Yes and no, because, of course, we have Lippy. So let's pass here and win round 1. And no, we definitely do not want to have Madoc in hand, because I'm thinking we're going to obviously at least play Lippy in round 2 here. If not, continue to push a fair bit more. But let's put Madoc away. And Mardroome is nice, because that means that we can get Crowmother from our graveyard back into our deck. We do need to be a little bit careful with Lippy, since, you know, is Crowmother going to be in our graveyard or in our deck when we do the deck flip? That potentially remains to be seen. Royal Decree is nice. It helps us get, well, I mean, Geralt of Rivia is probably going to be the target of Geralt's Quen anyway. But, alright. I suppose we stick with this in that case. We do want to make sure that we have bombs and that we have alchemy cards as well, so we can get both Madoc and Crowmother, who, after using her leader ability, is hanging out in our graveyard, back onto the board. So, obviously, can't really Red Haze when there's just one unit out there. So, also, Quen doesn't make much sense when Geralt of Rivia doesn't have a 9-power target to go after right now. So that probably does mean it's going to end up being Royal Decree into Knife Juggler, which with just one target to deal bleed damage to is certainly not perfect, but I think we do it nonetheless. And this should be really our only particularly awkward play here, because we should start to have additional units for us to target. For example, if they're trying to get the resilience on Gabor Zigrin, then he is 9 power, which means we can go Geralt Quen and Geralt of Rivia to take him out. So that is looking solid here. So I think we probably do go that route. And we're definitely going to want to put them in separate rows so that we are more Igni-proof. So not only was that a 20-point point slam, we also got rid of their 9-power unit that had resilience. So that's huge. Okay, Dwarven Agitator. Smartly they put in a different row so that we can't red haze it. However, now what we can do is we have a couple of shielded units here, so we can certainly Mardroeme one of them, and don't need to worry about the self-damage. We're just getting a 9-point boost, which is pretty solid, and more importantly, means that we will get Crowmother from our graveyard back onto the playing field, which is a whole lot of carryover. Okay, Zoltan Warrior. We'll spawn in some rowdy dwarves. And now, I mean, we could certainly get rid of the Dwarven Agitator with this red haze, and in doing so get Madoc out, which probably are looking to do that, and then maybe we'll go Lippy, and that'll be the last card that we play. We'll leave this last red haze unplayed. I'm thinking that's probably the plan. I mean, we could go with the second red haze, depending on what they do with their next turn, but either way, yes, I think this is what we're looking to do here, because Madoc is a 10-point body. We're probably not going to use his order ability, but just 10 points on the board is solid. Okay, Figus, does make red haze no longer an option, so good thing that we did it when we did, because we just flat out wouldn't be able to do it at all anymore. So yeah, that means almost certainly not going to red haze here, and so we're probably looking to Lippy now. So we'll swap our graveyard with our deck, and so that means all of the really good cards that we have already played, including the Witcher Trio, Eyck, even the cards that get summoned from our deck onto the board, like Knickers and Roach, will get moved back in. And particularly in a short round 3, which we have definitely started to set up here, the carryover that we get from all that stuff is going to be quite significant. So let's go Lippy here. And it actually means that we will instantly get Roach out from our deck because Lippy is a gold card. So it turns into a quite solid point slam as well. And as I said, in all likelihood, that is the last card we're going to play in this round, because Zoltan's Company is insufficient here. So, I mean, and we still just don't have any targets for red haze. So, I mean, yeah, we could play Madoc and then just do a 0 damage red haze, and I think you still get him on the board even if you don't have a legitimate target for red haze to deal damage when your main target is the defender, but still, just definitely not what we're looking to do here, because we have a very sizable lead, and Knickers comes out of our deck as well. Arguably might have preferred for that to have been in round 3, because we may already have enough stuff to get the job done here. That is a strong play there. They'll get some damage, but might be too little too late. So at the very least, they're going a card down, and we will have double last say. Is this sufficient? That is a strong finisher. Oh, and the damage is just enough. Okay, so we got them to bleed out some of their biggest cards, and we have all of our best cards back, and we have card advantage, double last say in round 3. So that's fine. We just need to make sure that we don't break our hand here by getting rid of one of the Witcher Trios, and then probably get rid of a red haze as well. And, well, that was the risk that we ran when we did that. Kind of stinks, but it does functionally mean that our card advantage, at least, is now not what it once was. So we do still have Royal Decree, which can be an answer for our big finisher here. And, I mean, what is that going to be? Either an Igni or an Eyck if we're looking for... I mean, Eyck does take a turn before he can use his order ability, so it wouldn't be our very last play for it to go that route. If we wanted to do something early, it would probably be the Longship. However, not necessarily sure we want to do that because it's best in a long round, and they realize they just don't stand a chance here, so they forfeit. So there's a look at a Skellige Lippy deck for the new Power Shift seasonal event. If you liked the video, make sure to hit the like and subscribe button, and leave a comment down below to let me know which other cards, archetypes, and factions you'd like us to experiment with next. Thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you next time.